you let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Yes. A little Depeche Mode, but the Trevor Something version. Welcome to the show. It is Tuesday night, the 13th of January, 2026, and we are tracking our way through the first month in style. It's almost halfway over. Thursday will be the halfway point, and it's going by in a flash, which means, I guess that's a good sign. To me, that's a good sign. Sometimes January, you can't get out of the first week without disaster. You know, knock on wood. And but we're out of the first week. And go fuck yourself, first week. Fuck you. Now you can taunt the first week all you want. And the third week's like, shut the fuck up. Shut your mouth. Anyway, it's gonna be a good night tonight. I'm here with some friends. Over there on the other side of the room, everybody knows Jay Gulinello. Jay, how are you?
Hey, what's happening?
Jay is happy as a pig in shit ever since the RFK announcement the other day. I can't wait to hear some of your thoughts on it. I have 3 clips that we have to go through later on.
Sure.
And but how's life been?
Great. Just living the dream.
Yeah. How was New Year's Eve in Queens?
Very uneventful, which is a good thing.
Oh yeah, you weren't one of the thousands who went down by the Brooklyn Bridge to see the fireworks that never were?
No, I chose to stay in.
Okay. And next to you is my good buddy Christian, fellow musician, longtime musician, and friend of everybody over here. Christian, how you doing?
Hello.
You were hanging out with us on election night.
I was,
and
yeah.
you were also a New Yorker.
I am.
How do you
for now?
For now, I know. I was going to say, how do you feel about the new ambassador to the youth in New York City being Miss Rachel? Miss Rachel is Zohran Mamdani's new child ambassador.
I'm so tuned out on all of it. It's a different place. I don't live there. I mean, I do physically, but I can't pay attention anymore.
Emotionally, I'm gone.
Yeah, I left. I left in 2020.
It's almost like I mean, weird. That's when things really started popping off, even for Christian.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah. And I know we talked a lot through all of it. I mean, he was one of my closest friends that were down there in the city every day. I'm getting all types of updates from him, not only what's going on in his job, but what he's seeing in the subway. He's snapping pictures of just resistance graffiti all over the place.
You live in the actual city. You live in
yeah. I don't want to give away my actual neighborhood, but
tell us your neighborhood.
Pretty much
What's the apartment number?
I'm right in the every crazy leftist thing you see online, yeah. I'm like in that neighborhood.
Wow.
Yeah.
I used to work
I have a really good rent situation. So
Smart man.
It's one of those things. It's just like,
Yeah.
When you're in a situation where you actually can't get a better rent in Ohio than you can in the middle of New York City, you're like, what do I do?
It's wild. I feel like I really disassociate when I'm walking around there.
Well, don't disassociate too much. You have to have situational awareness.
Right.
You have to know where the spiked club is going to be coming from. The mace. Somebody's swinging a mace. I don't know anymore. Oh, there's just so much, man. Hey, before we go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Real quick, for our monthly sponsors and members, wherever you are sponsored, if you have access to monthly to members only areas and all that stuff, I just posted a 2-minute video from inside of the living room during a classic Hallmark Christmas movie rip with me and my brother and my parents. I think it was like a year or two ago. Anthony had sent it to me. I said, "Oh, this is hilarious." So I posted it up there. You're gonna love it. We were watching this movie. I forgot the name of the movie, but a girl. The premise is a girl defies her parents' expectations and stays in New York City to become a rockette. and what the minute and a half or so footage. Piece of footage I put up there is when she tells her parents, "I'm staying in New York. I'm going to dance," and it's just fun. I got to find a way to bring you guys into those movie rips with us. I'm still thinking about it. And one other thing, the super chat raffle for tonight, which I will announce tomorrow. You still have tonight and tomorrow. Not only do I have six Mercury head dimes. Okay, that is 90% silver. Silver is nearly $90 now. Now I'm adding this day 2. I told you I'm going to add something onto it. It is a medium version of my Jesus Stunads All of You shirt. So you guys saw I was wearing a large. My mother got me a medium. I said, "This is not going to fit me." So she got me a large. She said, "What do I do with this medium?" I said, "Yeah, I'll give it away on air." So Stunads All of You. And there and some silver. Oh, actually, that's not good. You prepare silver with Jesus.
Yeah.
What? Maybe he's reclaiming the silver.
It's only 3 pieces.
He's getting a refund.
You're all right.
Anyway, a rebate. Maybe I got to separate these two things, to be honest. I might have to separate these two.
Bad luck. Bad luck.
I'm going to separate these two. I'll find you something else tomorrow. Anyway, silver's on the docket, and soon a wonderful shirt, which I told my mom, no, it's fine. It's prime. It's perfect amount of blasphemy. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what we have tonight. We're hanging out. Well, let's just jump right. What did you guys think about Scott Adams, his death?
Yeah.
I saw his final stream wrap up just the other day, and didn't look too good. You knew he was going down fast. I didn't expect just like a 36 hours, 72 hours though.
Yeah.
But it's surreal. It really is.
He had. I mean, I honestly, he wasn't a big part of my orbit. I don't know. I didn't really know him very well or much of his work. He came into my orbit sort of during COVID, when ironically he actually got a lot of stuff wrong during COVID, and that's kind of when I became more aware of him. And it's funny because when people describe him as this sort of like voice of reason, even like, sort of Trump supporting right leaning, that's kind of a foreign concept to me, because other than the cartoon Dilbert, I was only really introduced to him during COVID, and I had so many disagreements with him that I actually didn't think that he was much of a independent free thinker. So it's interesting to me to experience this, because I just I wasn't really aware of him in any other capacity.
Yeah,
so,
we were definitely following him with his coffee streams and all the other things he was doing leading up to that, and he became very frustrating at times. Yeah, one of the very few to say I got it wrong, but even I got it wrongs sometimes came with a little bit of a, you were only right out of luck.
That was the thing I remember. And I remember saying like, well, sometimes that's true, but also people know things that you don't know, right? Like some people understand why we got it right and you didn't. So you should at least own that. So again, it's very sad, everything that happened. But it was just interesting from my perspective, because again, I only had that sort of like disconnect where I didn't feel like he was much of an independent thinker, which is ironic because apparently he really was.
His ex-wife, who was taking care of him at the time of his death, made went live and said that he had a final message to people, and read a good amount of it. But this is the part that really got people, because especially everybody was looking out for his soul and asking, "Are you going to convert? Are you going to convert?" And here's the final message from Scott Adams. It's 2 pages. I'm just going to read the first section, because this is the one that's really getting around quite a bit. He said, "If you're reading this, things did not go well for me. I have a few things to say before I go. My body failed before my brain. I am of sound mind as I write this, January 1st, 2026. If you wonder about any of my choices for my estate or anything else, please know I am free of any coercion or inappropriate influence of any sort, I promise. Next, many of my Christian friends have asked me to find Jesus before I go. I'm not a believer, but I've had to admit the risk-reward calculation for doing so looks attractive to me, so here I go. I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I look forward to spending an eternity with him. The part about me not being a believer should be quickly relieved if I woke up in heaven. I won't need any more convincing than that, and I hope I'm still qualified for entry. With your permission, I'd like to explain something else about my life, and he goes into some other things, and I know that the stuff, like as I said, maybe about a week ago when we talked about Scott Adams and Pascal's wager. Whether you're rolling the dice on hey, if they're right, if people are right about heaven and hell, then I'm going to roll the dice and I'm going to align myself there, because if they're not right and nothing's there, then it's just nothing for all of us.
Right.
And of course, it's probably raging right now in several comment sections. Is this a valid what's valid in a person's heart? But you gotta understand, there's a lot of intellectual hurdles for a lot of people, and I'm very, very empathetic and sympathetic about that stuff. I understand. I mean, even people who are living it every day, they still have days where they doubt.
Of course.
So it's just, I don't know. I wish him well, and I hope that that gamble has paid off. I really do for him. I believe it will. But then again, I'm not the one who gets to punch tickets. I don't know. I pray. I got to worry about myself.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's difficult, and I have a lot of sympathy for that as well. And I don't like other people making the decision for him. Well, that's a correct way to do it. That's the wrong way to do it. Okay. I mean, that's certainly, you're entitled to your opinion, but like you said, no one really knows what was in his heart. I mean, so I do wish him the best, and it was sad to see that whole process play out.
I think when you're staring death down, who knows how that feels, right?
Yeah.
You probably hope that there's something else.
You got to have hope, right?
Yeah.
You gotta have hope.
Yeah,
it does change all your calculations, right. And I understand it. The only thing there too is, and I know that we're dealing with a situation where there may have been some accelerants involved in his personal situation.
Right.
To what end? Who really knows? We can only really make assumptions, but the aspect of it being prostate related is it's one of those things that's as men we hear that you got to get your prostate checked, this and that, but thankfully prostate cancer, even if you don't catch it like the day one, it is usually something that does not take you out.
Right.
That and to hear about prostate cancers that are this aggressive, I'm sure that they've always been out there, but rarely. I don't know. What do you think about stuff like that?
Well, I mean, we're let's just say we're living through a rash of very aggressive. The term turbo cancer is sort of a new thing that we're all, being exposed to. Most men will die with prostate cancer, and I tell people all the time, cancer actually, I know the word is scary, but it's actually a relatively normal part of physiology. The body has a way of dealing with that. It's only when it's put in an inappropriate environment that it can turn into something that's, that can affect your life, quite literally. So I do have a lot of questions about that. Obviously, you'll never know, but that's always the first thing that I thought when that happens, and when it happens and it comes on so aggressively. And what was he, 68?
68.
Yeah, I mean that's still pretty young. So it's really unfortunate.
Was he one of those people that said he regretted getting the jab?
I don't know.
Once he got sick, was there a correlation to that, or am I thinking of someone else?
I don't know if he actually said. No, you're thinking of Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton.
No, I know about Eric Clapton. His arms.
I think that was like one of the more like, here I am. I'm being.
I thought maybe
very
it was
blunt.
him too, though.
He might have.
He did say. I feel like he did address it, but I don't think he said he regretted it. I think he said it. It's a potential, and those of you that were, I think he was convinced that it was problematic. But then again, he said, if you knew that beforehand, you just got lucky. Like it was some kind of a coin flip. And I said before, it's, I don't know. So I don't know if he actually regretted it. But again, that has to be in the back of anybody's mind, especially when that was in the public consciousness that that could be a potential. How can you not think about that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking right now just to see if there's anything that was put out there. I don't think that there was any like really forthright admission of I shouldn't have done it.
I don't remember that either.
Okay.
I don't know, but I remember him saying the anti-vaxxers won.
I remember that too.
I do remember that.
I remember him saying that.
I remember that.
So to what degree? And,
Nobody won.
Listen,
Nobody won.
Yeah. Oh, well, here's a few key quotes. No, he says, I did not end up in the right place. The right place would be natural immunity, no vaccinations. I should take defeat. All of my fancy analytics got me to a bad place. He was complaining about some really like neurological. There was the onset stuff that had nothing to do with actual, cancer.
Yeah.
I remember that up front where he thought that some neurological issues that he was dealing with was going to take him out. That might have been about 3 years ago or something like that. I remember that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Just feeling sorry for him because you can just tell. I don't know.
Yeah.
But once 2020 popped off and everybody just kind of went to their camps, it really was a blur. And if I didn't jive with whatever the hell you were talking about, it was easy to lose track of people for a long time. And I didn't really attack Scott Adams. Things he said were really head scratching to me, but I just didn't pay attention to him for a long time. And then this just supersedes all other things. And you just wish him well.
Yeah, that was my experience too. Again, I had no real concept of him. And then the only time I ever saw him pop up was when he was saying something, in my opinion, that was a little ridiculous. So how he's being described is interesting to me. And I'm glad that he was a free thinker. I just wish that he had been a little bit more of a free thinker, at the critical moments, because let's face it, for all of us alive or that are now gone, COVID was some kind of a turning point, some kind of a critical moment that we all had to make some really, difficult decisions, maybe some of the most difficult decisions in our lives in a variety of ways, not just whether to take something or not, but, interpersonal relationships, who you're going to spend your time with. Those things became, and I know that I use that a lot on this show. I always say like, that's my litmus test for, the character of somebody, but it was just, I don't know. It's like the Super Bowl of decisions, right? And like, it's like having a quarterback that like gets you through the regular season, 14 wins, and then he throws 5 picks in the first playoff game. It's like, yeah, that's great, but how are you in the biggest moments? And that told me a lot about a lot of people.
I do not look at anyone the same after that. I've tried.
Yeah.
It's almost like a PTSD.
Yeah.
I wish I could go back to taking the blue pill or whatever it is.
2019 almost seems like the Elysian Fields.
I just look at everyone. There are people that I'm still friends with that like I don't, I'm going over to their house for holidays and stuff just because it's routines. But like, bro, like I remember what you said. I remember what you all said together. And there was no apologies or there's just like we were scared and blah, 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 blah.
So this is where I was going, Christian. So I'm totally with you. And I have a huge heart and will definitely forgive, but you can't forgive. And this was the whole thing. Remember when they wrote that article in The Atlantic about pandemic amnesty?
I went to write him and go, fuck yourself. Like,
right. Because if you're not even explaining what you're sorry for, you're just saying, we didn't know. And that was what bothered me about Scott Adams saying, oh, well, you just got lucky. No, that's not the correct lesson. People knew because X, Y, and Z, right? We're not going to relitigate this here, but I was just looking for a simple apology because then maybe when the next time the playoffs roll around, I could trust you to make a more accurate decision because you told me what you got wrong. When you just ignore it like it never happened, that's a completely different scenario.
These are the same fucking people that go along with whatever the new thing is. Yeah. It's the same people.
Yeah.
If you can guess where they stand on any of today's issues by where they stood then.
Yeah.
And that to me is some kind of MK Ultra shit or something.
Yeah.
It's almost as if there's a bunch of gravestones walking around.
Yes.
Okay. Because they'll show up to your party or you'll go to some place and you'll see them. Oh, that used to be my friend so-and-so. Not because you disown or whatever. It's just that There's something completely forever changed about so many people. And you know what? I've had to and still have to bite my tongue on a lot. There's certain points when I can't bite my tongue and I just fuck it and I let it rip. But other than that, I just keep reminding myself of how short life is.
Yeah.
And what I'm willing to just to have a decent night and a decent time, celebrate something.
And that's why I said I don't think anybody really won. Like who won during that?
It just divided people.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, nobody's been held accountable.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody's been held accountable.
Yeah.
For anything.
No.
So there is no winning. It's not even a draw.
Yeah.
We got the shit kicked out of us, and then the fucking devils retreated into the bushes a little bit.
Yeah.
And now they're back out, and they've retouched their mortician's makeup, and they're fresh again.
I mean, today, did you see Governor Bucktooth and her State of the State address? Yeah. I mean, she's talking about the Constitution, this and that, and we have the right. Everyone has their civil rights and blah blah. I'm like,
everybody has their civil rights.
Everyone has their civil rights. You Nancy Pelosi face tester, like you fucking stood in churches and told people that they were your apostles and this was the Eucharist.
That's right. She did.
She did.
And you forced it on people. You forced them to do shit they didn't want to do to keep their jobs. That is, I mean, isn't that fascism? Last I checked, forcing people to take something that's a corporation.
Well, there's a lot of fascism. There's a lot of fascism
I'm
right now.
Facetious when I say that.
In the anti-fascist world.
It really is just the fascism that you like.
Yeah.
But when people scream fascism in the streets, that's just a euphemism for you're mean.
Yeah, I don't like you.
Because if they actually understood how to apply that, and they realize, okay, the republic and anything that resembles democracy has been gone for a long time, and this is mainly all fascism. This ungodly pairing between a central authority that has grown way out of control with all of its corporate arms. I mean, that's just essentially what it is.
Mm-hmm. There's no gray area. There is no gray area with these people.
None.
It's insane. Like people that are my body, my choice, which they started with the Roe v. Wade thing. That was like maybe a few months after the whole mandate stuff. And these same people that were like, no, you have to do this, turn around and say my body, my choice. I'm like, well, which one is it? Which one is it?
She was the one who cost me my job. I was working at the hospital when people think it was Cuomo. It was not. It was her mandate.
Yeah, it was her.
It was her. So I've got.
Wait a second. What does your hospital have to do? Your hospital was not within the bounds of New York City.
It was a New York State mandate, I guess.
Oh, governor. My bad.
Yep.
Sorry. I was thinking about New York City.
Yeah, no.
And back to what you were saying, Frank, where you try to tune it out and have a good time with people. And I mean, I go to church and I pray for Jesus to make me more like him. I legitimately do that because I don't want to hate people. I don't want to hold resentment, but it is so hard. I mean, you're a Christian, like it's hard. This is the hardest test we've ever been through.
Yeah.
I actually, it definitely brought, it was 2020 and 2021 that really brought me starting back into the fold. Now I remember with Christian, actually, and when he told me that he was going back to church, I said, because he sent me the art for his latest album with the Amatory Murder, his band. We'll talk about that later. You'll be able to plug them. But when he showed me the album, it was very, very beautiful, very religious, and very, there's a lot of, and I had to ask him, I said, Christian, have you been going back to church? and he said, I have. And I said, I started getting a little excited. I said, Christian, are you praying the rosary? He goes, I am. I said, I was texting people. I said, I'm so happy. You have no clue how happy that made me.
Thank you, brother.
Because you want to know why? It was in 2020. He was going through a lot with wherever he was working at the time, as far as your access to the building, whether or not you're going to come in without a test, come in without a mask, whether or not you're going to be able to avoid the jab. And he was able to secure himself a religious exemption from the shot. And when he told me, he's like, because he was completely relieved, I said, I said, you made a deal now, though. I said, I remember telling him, I said, okay, well, you got to hold up your end of the deal now, Christian. And talking a couple of years after that and realizing that it made me so happy. It really did.
Yeah.
So
I get sometimes emotional just thinking about it, but yeah, like I work with a very wonderful woman, and she was one of the first people to speak out at this job and said, well, hold on. We don't, like, why do we have to do this? Like, I had COVID already, like, blah, 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 blah. And I know she was working on getting some kind of exemption, but also my girlfriend, who is Catholic. And I noticed how during this whole thing, she was like, and she got it bad. She went through some shit, but she was calm the entire time. She was calm the entire time. And I said, why? I was on high alert constantly, especially where I live. And she said, because it's God's will, and God will take care of everything, And I remember when I applied for this exemption, I remember I prayed to God and I said, it's been years. And I said, I just need some help. And I promise you, I will worship you every day for the rest of my life. And that day, all this miraculous stuff just fell into line, and I guess that was God's will, but I haven't ever since then. And that's when we were talking. Ever since then, I've been devout. I love God. I love Jesus, and I do whatever I can to spread His message. And I try and feel sorrow for the people that I want to hate because they hate me. But I truly believe that this is spiritual. I think Satan is out in full force. I do. And it's crazy because 5 years ago, I would have been like, oh, you're crazy. Who's that guy? Some crazy evangelical blah, blah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But no, I feel it. I feel it. I feel it down there. I feel the evil, but I feel the goodness when I'm in church.
How's that? Very powerful. I'm not going to add or take away or anything to that.
Praise Jesus!
Scared the shit out of me. so tell me, how is that affected? How's that affected or added to the music?
Well, with music, I never come out and say exactly what it is I'm singing about. I like things to be very
but just your approach, and you're a band. You're a band of brothers over there, so I'm sure they know what's going on with you. And
yeah, and they're very accepting. I mean, they're not not all of them are like the way I am, but we're very diverse in that. But for me, it's spiritual. I feel when I sing this, I know we're gonna get to it later, but when I sing the songs that are on the Sounds of Seven Angels, I feel it in a way that I never felt music before on my other albums. I feel that I'm doing something that's divine in a way. I don't want to sound full of myself.
No, but it's a personal experience.
I feel that I'm connected to something that I wasn't before. I'm
happy to hear it, man.
And I think the people that really get it, the people that are into it. I mean, I meet so many people touring that are like, people just come up to me and we'll just be talking and they have no idea. And they'll just be like, oh, can I pray for you? And I'm like, of course. It's like God sends these people into your life once you accept Him, and it's beautiful.
Little waypoints along the way.
Yeah.
Checkpoints. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Well, I mean, these are the good things to take away from rough years. Here's a little. I don't know what the hell this is, Jay, but I have two things. You want to talk about things and things being sent to you in weird ways? The other night on the couch, Lauren and I, she only had a couple of minutes before she was going to bed, so we just started, joy scrolling together. And I linked my phone to the television, went on Instagram, we just started scrolling through what the hell comes up on my feed. And two things, I said, okay, well, that's for Jay on Tuesday night.
Oh, great.
And then, okay, there's for Jay. Oh, this one's for Jay too. So this is called, hold on. Let me get this out of the way.
It sounds like your algorithm is better than mine. I get some of the dumbest stuff, which is why I've been on like a 2-month social media fast.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the hell to even say about this.
Is that Willy Wonka?
You know, the Surrender Factory. If your name starts with the letter J, you're invited. I said, what?
What?
Your name starts with the letter J, you're invited to the Surrender Factory. I'm excited. Here's your golden ticket. Because I submit.
What if your name is only the letter J?
This is where humanity is now.
I know this. Dude, it's surreal.
That's the middle of the street.
David Lynch couldn't take you some of the places that I see on Instagram at night. Oh no, but that's not the only one.
Wow.
Here's another one, Jay. If your name starts with the letter J, this popped up as well for me. This person wants to suffer for you.
If your first name starts with the letter J, I will suffer for you. Gosh. Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
What?
Why
are they both on they're both on their hands and knees?
I don't know what's wrong.
What is going on?
Dude, they're cracking up.
Yeah, that's not my algorithm.
No other other letter popped up for me. Like you would think that I would have gotten the letter
It's all
F.
for you, dude.
That's it. This was a message for you. From what demon? I don't know.
Boy, I better be careful on the drive home tonight. Thank you for exposing that to me. Maybe you just let something in.
I don't know.
Well. Now I remember why I've been off social media for about 2 months.
You've really just been kind of like off social media?
Yeah. It started unintentionally. I was saying this before we went on air. Just frustration, like from... I'm doing a lot on our health platform, the private one, but so like Instagram, I have posted in the last 2.5 months, I've probably put up 2 or 3 posts. When I used to be from 2019 on, I was a daily poster, which is what grew my account to 17,000 plus. All of a sudden, I just don't get anybody seeing any of my stuff, and I don't care about the likes. I care about the education, and if no one's being educated, why am I spending hours creating all this content? So I stopped for a bit, and then I realized I felt better when I stopped. And I'm going to go back. I mean, I have to go back because it's part of the world we live in and what we all do, individually, collectively. But it's just been an interesting experiment, and I haven't felt the pull to come back yet. And that's probably why.
It's like weaning yourself off a drug.
Yeah. And, I'm still doing a ton of content, but it's just going in different directions. So if you guys haven't seen me on Instagram in a while, that's why I'm still here. I'm just not sure what to do yet. I'm going to have to make some decisions soon, but I think the last thing I really posted was like Halloween 2025. Just kind of been like,
Dude, I mean, I don't know. There was this one article, Posting Zero. This was my producer Krista had sent this to me last. It might have been October or November, and it's been on ice because I definitely want to talk about it. But this had popped up. It's more on Gen Z. Oh. I have a lot more on Gen Z that it's something I was going to do on Thursday night as well. I'm just piling things up for Thursday night because I don't have a guest schedule at this point. But Gen Z leaving social media. The question is. This is about 2 months ago from First Post. I'll play this just for a second. You let me know what you think about it, and we'll move on to something else because I have a bunch of other stuff to do. But listen to this.
For our next story, let's talk about the internet. It has never felt louder and busier. Ads, reels, AI slop, viral videos. It's like a constant digital screaming match, and that seems to have put off the people who make the internet because they are going quiet. Let me show you a study. It says that social media activity is dropping across the world. This study was conducted in 50 countries. It involved more than 250,000 people. That's a pretty decent sample size, and here's what it found. Social media usage is down by 10%. People are leaving, and it's mostly young people, the people who grew up with their phones. They're turning away. Turns out this trend also has a name. It's called Posting Zero. It's a fancy name for a simple reality. Basically, people have stopped posting their lives on social media. That is Posting Zero. And here's why it's happening. The study has given 3 reasons. First, the polished nature of social media. When these platforms first came, they weren't so curated. There were breakfast photos, pet photos, gym selfies.
Oh, do you guys remember Instagram when it first started?
A bit.
It was maybe like a dozen or so really warming, nice filters, and people just really, it was really all about how you can be creative with taking pictures of things around you.
Yeah.
And I actually took great joy in every once in a while taking a nice picture of my coffee mug and stuff like that. You know, lights in the background at the studio. I should actually pull it up and go back to like the earliest posts on the Instagram, but that's what it was, and it's obviously not that.
Well, I think this gets into a larger conversation, which, you know, I don't know if that's the direction we're going to go, but again, we were just talking about this prior, that for me, again, I didn't do this intentionally. It just sort of happened, and then I realized that I think we need to create more. I mean, this was the impetus for the Jamboree. We need to create more human connection. And you start to realize that social media is almost the exact opposite of that, right? Like, there's a great power and benefit to being able to reach people that you otherwise would never have been able to reach, or meet people you otherwise would never have been able to meet. But then the downside is that you're starting to, there's only so much time in a day. So you're losing and you're deprioritizing real human connection, and human beings are meant to communicate in person. We have all kinds of cues that you don't experience with all your senses when you're looking at a screen. And so I don't know. And I think we need to push. I'm not saying we're ever going to get rid of social media, but I personally am really much more interested now in what makes us human, rather than, you know, the intricacies of a technology that can somehow keep us connected while simultaneously keeping us disconnected.
Here's another here, shitification. Okay, this is another one.
A guy explaining how to make your first million by the age of 24, and an AI model.
So they're saying that real people vanished while ads and influencers took over. That's the second. That's the second one. Which, of course, that junk goes right into dead internet theory, which is a lot more than just people. It's like the things are just being deleted. No doubt about it.
Somebody sent me something the other day from a doctor, an account on Instagram. The only time I've been on Instagram is when somebody DMs me. Basically, I go in and I look and see what. And it was a follower of mine sent me this doctor who was explaining. I can't even remember what it was about. It was like, you know, something to fight inflammation or whatever. And I was looking at it, and I was like, something's weird. And I kept looking at it, and then I left that post that they sent, and I went to the account, and I went through the account to finally realize this is AI.
Yeah.
The woman was not. It was a really good AI, but I really spent like probably too much time, and it was not a real doctor.
They
it was
have
not
AI
a real
musicians
person.
and stuff on Instagram now.
And
it's
I'm like,
crazy. And they fight with you. If you say, hey, you're AI, they're like, they roast you. I mean, it's crazy.
And I could clearly tell. There's just, I don't know. There's like a sense you get. And I couldn't believe it, though, because if you just looked at it briefly, you would never have known. But I really spent some time, and I was like, this is AI. So then you have to wonder, is the content even being, you know, actually researched by a human being? Is, you know, could be, but it might not be. But it just really disturbed me that I couldn't tell right away. And then I was like, well, now I know exactly why I'm not on social media, because I don't even know if any of these people are real.
No, it's a very important thing to think about. And I have, you know, early on, maybe about like a year or two ago, maybe about 2.5 years ago, we were talking about 3D printed sculpture art, and we were talking about AI, the first AI paintings, and AI generated images were still coming out, and it's still very clunky, and it's still clunky, but they're obviously it's progressing leaps and bounds.
Sure.
But I don't even touch the AI art thing anymore. It is being soundly rejected.
Yeah.
If that's just the way it is, you're not going to gain. People aren't impressed by it.
Right.
You get roasted. Yeah, there's way too much money being generated by AI music and AI covers on Spotify. It's crazy what's going on with that. And like we just said, they just gave I forgot what record label gave a contract to an AI artist.
How does that work?
A person created an AI pop artist, and the pop artist, the character, got a record deal. It was like, I think it was worth around $3 million. Anthony and I talked about it on the first episode of the Playhouse, and you know, you start wondering, okay, well, who has the rights to that thing that it's a composite image, obviously. But and not only that, listen, so people have already everything I said about OnlyFans and AI. I said if I knew how to do AI and I had really no job prospects, I would make hundreds of thousands of dollars just coming up with like objectively perfect women that look, because they do a pretty good job for some people, I guess. And it's just you just post it on these things. You pretend there are entire AI women now that are on OnlyFans. Maybe some people know.
Take your digital top off. Come on.
They don't care.
You see that digital
Some people
tits.
don't care. Some people don't care. I said, I know that people are going to be doing this. They'd be stupid if they didn't. And
you can also, like I said, with that doctor, you could, if you didn't spend the time to look, you could easily just convince yourself, just look at real quick and go, oh, it's a real person. If you don't take the time to really do your due diligence, you could just be happy in the delusion.
Yeah. Well, we're reading Ready Player One right now. And it's really interesting because, what we're talking about here is obviously Ready Player One is a dystopian futuristic story, but one that wasn't as depressing as like Fahrenheit 451, which we read, and Lucifer's Hammer that we read, and Brave New World in prior years of the book club. But this one is interesting. I think it's a little bit more hopeful, but still in the middle of it, you have this entire planet that is living out their lives on this digital virtual reality immersive platform called Oasis. And the Oasis essentially became a necessity for a lot of people because the earth has been completely ravaged by famine, misuse of resources, of course, climate disruption, all that other stuff, whatever. And inside of this Oasis is just a really incredible story that's building up about the creator wanting to give away the creation to somebody out there and how that could actually change the world depending on who gets it. Yeah. And so you have these kids that are trying to figure out all these different challenges to find the egg. And then you have these CIA defense contractor type organization that knows what acquiring the rights for this virtual, metaverse kind of a thing could be. It's a really crazy thing, but inside of it, no matter how much this has been a part of everyday human life, living inside of this Oasis, it's clear to the reader, and you'd have to imagine to the writer who's trying to project into the future, however many decades, what kind of an impact this would have on generations who were born into this kind of virtual, duality between the real world, which is becoming more and more unappealing and harder to deal with because there's so much red tape, there's so many loopholes, there's so much bullshit you deal with in the streets, or bullshit you deal with family and friends who have just been morphed into, Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of the changes that are going on around you. And you realize that it's all just different versions and different types of dysphoria. Like dysphoria is something that we hear about a lot these days, especially once identity had become such a huge socio-political motivating factor for everything about 10 or so years ago. But really, we're dealing with a lot of dysphoria because the life that we were designed with the life we were designed to live as the human species was designed to have outside with the elements. And I'm not saying sleeping outside, but, having outside time, eating food from the earth, all these things. It's really dysphoric. We are separated from nature in so many subtle ways.
I mean, this is the core of everything that I teach people is how in a modern world can you reconnect with enough of those principles to be optimally healthy. And it's an open question because so many things need to change, and so you need to triage and figure out, okay, well, obviously we're not going to go back. People always say, oh, what do you want to go back to the Paleolithic time, living in caves when we only lived to, age 25. First of all, there's a variety of different reasons why they only lived to age 25. And none of those reasons exist today. One was massive infant mortality. Two was like wild animal attacks, So
three was Zoran Mondani.
Of course. Right. Those things completely, they completely skewed the numbers. But like, no, it's how do we survive in a hyper digital, now, AI driven climate when what we really need is time away from screens, time with real food, time, with people that we actually care about in smaller social circles. Because remember, as human beings, we would have been better in smaller social circles because you needed to make sure you could trust everyone that you were with. It's not to a human's advantage to have 10 million friends. I know you think that I have 10 million friends on Facebook. Congratulations. Those aren't real friends. You don't know any of those people. They would never have your
acquaintances.
Back. Right. It is to our advantage as humans to have a smaller group of trusted people. So we are doing everything the opposite, and it has to make you wonder whether it's on purpose. Yes, it is. Spoiler alert. And I need to, try to teach people and pull them back into a more real version of what it's like to be human so they can be healthy. So I completely agree with everything you're saying. And I think it's to our great peril if we ignore it.
Back to the Gen Zers not going on social media and all that. I mean, they're going to get them some other way.
Yeah.
Because they want a digital version of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, whether it's tapping on a subway or, they need to create that profile. Mm-hmm. So even if they're not on social media, they'll condition them into doing something else that achieves the same purpose.
You're right. And it's why the most important thing we can do is get together in living rooms and have conversations that nobody else is privy to, and that we can. I mean, that's how our founding fathers did it, right? Meeting in taverns and in places where, and
that's what they tried to stop us from doing.
Right. Exactly what they did during COVID.
Mm-hmm. You remember the Canadian government officials who actually, I mean, you can say they let the cat slip out of the bag, but they just didn't even care. Yeah. They I wish somebody can find me the media clip of it. I feel like it was like in the Nova Scotia area or something like that. But they wanted people to stay inside. It wasn't even any kind of biological reasons for it. They said something about people going out and gathering is a way to spread misinformation.
Oh yeah, I totally remember that.
Like they didn't want
ran over old ladies with horses.
Yeah,
protest.
Exactly.
They did that too.
Fucking Canada.
Right. Yeah. It's like they at that point the real virus was letting people go down to the pub and have a conversation with somebody and commiserate. Because all the pieces would be put together, they wouldn't feel so isolated anymore, and that's dangerous. Isolation is very, very useful.
Didn't you see the EU president, Ursula something, von der Leyen? Whatever.
Yeah.
She had just had a speech, I don't know how recent it was, but that said misinformation is like the virus.
I saw that.
And censorship is like the vaccine. Oh, well. Why didn't you say so? I believe the Canadian government was also telling people to have sex through glory holes to protect themselves. So,
that's just Trudeau's preference.
Yeah, it's just a fetish.
No, you remember? Hold on. New York City Health Glory.
Oh, I remember that too.
2020.
We're reliving the early 20s. This is great.
Here we are.
The early 20s, glory holes in New York City.
That's it. This is July 23rd, 2020. This is from The Advocate.
Going back to July 2020.
Here it is. The Advocate. This probably you can find it. While New York City Department of Health recommended the use of barriers for sex, the British Columbia CDC has gone a step further.
And they showed a tree.
It looks like a gaping vagina.
Yeah, go ahead. Give it to the squirrel.
What an image.
Let's see. Early on in the pandemic, New York City Department of Health released a set of guidelines and a one sheet aimed at addressing many of our sex-related questions, even though not much was known about the virus. No, I remember some of those things that they gave us was like, because it's New York, so they didn't want to say anything too commonsensical about how about we just don't for a while, and how about we at least refrain from the orgies?
Well, the politicians will be pissed.
So embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing. They couldn't go that far because sex for leftists is they love doing that whole express myself. Like what? Who? Tell me one person you know who's ever express themselves when they're blowing a load. Okay? It's like you feel like you...
Hey, I'm
like,
going to express myself. Here it comes.
wicked hot. Oh! It's just... It's the things that... Like,
This is how you knew none of it was serious.
Well, I know.
I mean, it's
I know,
just
So embarrassing to the rest of the country. My God.
Yeah.
Like, I always have to apologize to people in other states. We aren't all like this.
It's no, I understand it. It's just that the messaging is a little bit more concentrated here. These
Yeah.
people exist in every state.
Yeah.
You know,
but they're the wacko in other states.
exactly. They're the one crazy freak.
Weird Harriet in Alabama.
I know. Who thinks that that's Weird Harriet. So Weird Harriet got this as New York was heading into the first phase of reopening, and an update to guideline opened the door. That's right. An update to guidelines opened the door for glory holes. Now, okay, say that was the glory
you
holes
got glory holes.
in New York.
I'm going to run for mayor soon.
Let's see here. Now, British Columbia Center for Disease Control has recommended time-honored glory hole as a safe.
Time honored.
It's a safe sex barrier.
Time honored.
There's no barrier. I mean, there's no.
There's a fiberglass or whatever.
Yeah, but there's a hole in the middle of it.
The old time honored tradition of a glory
Don't
hole.
you understand? The virus only knows one way. Do you remember when you sit down and take the mask off, everything is fine. But when you stand up, that's when it's a problem. Obviously, it doesn't know how to get through the hole.
Time honored Pepperidge Farm.
What is wrong with you,
it's
Frank?
fucking
You know what's
crazy.
It's crazy. You're putting your dick through a hole. You're essentially going through the barrier into a person's mouth.
Frank,
And
I
then
feel like
you're bringing the sample back.
we're assuming knowledge here. You should explain to the audience
The
what a
viral
glory hole
load.
is.
Everybody knows. Yeah, the viral. Yeah, everybody knows what it is. So this is just it. This is what we're talking about. While the new safer sex guidelines still maintain that you are your safest partner, so they want you just to have a little alone time.
Oh, okay. That's,
Followed by the consenting adult, that you live with. Oh, I
Whoa.
remember they said if you can, try to keep it to one partner. I remember
do
they were saying
remember that too.
It's like, wow, you can't even tell people to just shack up, be monogamous for a couple of minutes.
Try to keep it to just the people on your street. See if you can do that. Keep it in your neighborhood.
If you have decided to go out with a group. Pick larger, more open, well-ventilated spaces.
Good. So just
So
have an
go to a
orgy
gym.
in Central Park.
Yeah. So meet me down by the pond. I'll be down at the duck pond.
I'll be with the geese.
Is it a stretch to think that this way of thinking was to plant the seeds for the ultimate 15-minute cities and stuff like that? Like just to be around the same people and
There was a lot of that 15-minute
you know.
city stuff during the same time period, for sure. I don't know if this is directly related to it, but there was definitely a lot of that as well.
You know what?
I think this was a test case for a lot of things.
In places like New York, you think about even prior to 2020, naturally in metropolis scenarios like New York, that stuff is already really the case. I mean, I'm sure there are reasons why somebody who lives on the East Side is going to have to trek up to the Upper West Side for something. You have to go to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go to Columbia or something like that. I'm sure there's always reasons why you got to leave, but when you really think about it, there's probably most people just do most of their living within a couple of blocks anyway. The pharmacy they go to, whatever. Who knows where they work? Maybe they have a short commute to work somewhere. But I mean, New York City is essentially like 25 15-minute cities.
Right.
It's so interesting you say that because I, again, not being from here, when I came here and started working in the city, that's the first thing I noticed. That it was strange to me that I could step outside of 14th Street and I could look one way and see a Starbucks, and I could look another way and see a Starbucks. And if you walk to the wrong one, they go, "Why'd you go all the way over there?" I'm like, I can still see it. It was a mentality that I was completely unfamiliar with. They're like, but everything I need is right here. I even worked with people who, very common, didn't have a driver's license, and they actually said to me, well, everything I need is right here. And I'm like, whoa. Yeah. So you're kind of like, and this was before, so like you're preconditioned almost to feel that way. Like, well, I have everything I need. I'm like,
very Truman Show.
There's a big world out there, but they didn't really think about it that way. It was weird from the outside perspective because I did have that when I came here.
We made a lot of Truman Show comments in 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
When do you think the hammer drops again with this shit?
you know,
they're not going to let it go. They got away with it once.
they're not going to let it go. I mean, I'm just with the new reports that are coming out of even deeper levels of fraud in Minnesota. I just wonder what the hell's going to happen out there. I saw that there was a big rally that's been planned for January 23rd in Minnesota. And
What?
I mean, you're going to have to get all these crazy fucking women out into the streets because I mean, what's going to happen when this new report that Nick Shirley did with this David Hotch guy? What's going to happen? I mean, every time that you get exposed, there has to be some kind of a wave of violence or something to overreact to.
Well, they gotta create. They have to lay the groundwork for the distraction that will come, which is what happened with that that ICE officer and that woman. Right, that was the perfect timing. Right after this fraud stuff started. Right after.
They're trying to make that kid's life miserable too.
Yeah.
I mean,
which one?
Nick Shirley.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's an actual reporter, and I think they're just pissed off that he's breaking the shit and exposing all the stuff that they don't want to expose. Dude, CNN. I mean, the kid's 23 years old. The stuff they're saying about him.
Oh, they'll stop at nothing.
No, they won't.
I mean, I really thought that things might get better, but they just double down on the same shit, and it's worse than ever. And people keep falling for it. I have people in my family that still will tell me the stuff they saw on their MSN feed or whatever. And it's like, how many times do I have to tell you this isn't real?
At least
this is not real.
I'm happy my mom is largely in a phase. It seems like she has transitioned into a headspace where now she'll just text me and say, what are your thoughts on all this stuff? Or what is this stuff that I'm seeing?
I have that with my mom.
A little bit. It's a little bit more like a check. So I know that those questions come with natural skepticism built in about how it's being reported.
Well, because their whole the whole thing is falling apart for them, right? They put all their. They thought they took over all these institutions, and it's the good way, but the good way got corrupted.
Right.
And, and my mom, she says the same thing. She texts me. She's like, I saw this, blah, blah, blah. But then I sent something the other day, not to put my mother on blast. My mom's a wonderful person. But I sent her the old video of the guy talking about communism and how you just label everyone Nazis and fascists. And I said, does this remind you of anything? And she goes, yeah, Trump. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what?
That's a reflex, though.
Look in your own backyard.
That's a reflex.
Look.
Well,
yes, it is.
And,
You're right.
and people forget that prior to.
I love you, Mom.
People forget that prior to COVID, and I think I said this last time, Frank, even though we know the media is dying, the legacy media is dying, but they still do have this death grip on a certain percentage of the population, whatever that percentage is. It's getting smaller and smaller, but it still exercises enough control, because when something happens, that's still the first place a lot of people go. And people still say, oh, well, if that was true, why wasn't it on the news? And you have to try to deconstruct why the fact that, again, that the news has an agenda. It's not just like when I was a kid, I understand the news you thought was the actual news, but it's not the news. And that's the problem. And if you're of a certain age, you can't reckon with that because it really does disrupt the rest of the foundation that your entire life has been built on. And I know this from my field that I got doctors who won't learn new tricks because this is the way they were educated. This is the way they treated patients. And if they were wrong about that, then they have to admit that they were wrong about a lot of other things. Right. And then it puts them in a very uncomfortable position. And some people just don't want to deal with that. We're obviously different. You have made changes in your life from what I understand. I certainly have made dramatic changes in my life. And it's not the norm to be able to self-examine, have some introspection and say, I was wrong. I need to do better and I'm going to do better. Right. That's not the standard for people.
That's why I actually appreciate Scott Adams.
Yeah.
It's at least he said, hey, I got it wrong. Maybe it wasn't like the whole parade we wanted, but that people like him or like Tucker with the Iraq war. I mean, if you can admit you're wrong about something, I think people respect you more.
I agree.
And people are more forgiving.
Yeah, that's why I'm so quick to tell people I just don't know so many times.
There's nothing wrong with that, man. I have so much respect for people who will say I don't know. But you know why, Frank? Because with you, your audience knows this, and I know this from speaking to you. We all have our strengths, and I know if I want to have, if I have a question about something that I know is a strength of yours, I can ask you and say, and I have had those conversations before. I'm like, this is Frank's wheelhouse. I'm going to talk to him about this. But I also understand, and I'm sure you feel the same way, that if it's something that you don't know, or at least I know that I'll get an honest I don't know from you, because you don't want to pretend to be some kind of oracle, because you understand that being a lifelong student is important, because it keeps you honest, it keeps you humble, and it keeps you learning. And I just don't think when I see these people out there protesting, they're acting with information that they think they have that they actually don't. And when they stopped learning, how many years ago, and started being programmed, that's when all of their behaviors were just set in stone and they're never going to change. And I'm sorry to say, how do you reason with someone who's standing in front of an SUV yelling, "Stop! Stop!" You can't reason with that. No. That person is so deeply indoctrinated. Dude. It is so rare to find somebody to admit when they were wrong. And I love when people do it. And I try to do it. I'm in the science field. I'm wrong all the time. That's my job, is to figure out where I'm wrong and where I'm right. So I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong, and I wish more people were able to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna,
Evening, Giuseppe G, Xian and Frank. Great listen, gents. Thank you.
Well, thank you so
much.
Very
much.
Hey, thank you, Stosu. That's very nice. That's very, very nice of you. I'm going to get to the super chats in just a second. Okay. I also have this article. It's a short blog from James Howard Kunstler, and it's about essentially what I was talking about last night: the decision making for so many of these crazy leftist women.
Oh boy!
And I mean, I can read it a little bit, or we can just pick it apart just for a little. I don't know.
Yeah.
But first, ladies and gentlemen, let me stop to make a very important announcement on behalf of my wonderful sponsors that I use every day. That is Keto Brainz. Ladies and gentlemen, first, please, 15% off your order at ketobrainz.com when you use promo code January. But that's not it. 4 winners are going to be pulled from those who make a purchase this month. The grand prize is going to have about $450 worth of product. That's a full extra bag of Keto Brainz, the glass storage jar, long-handled spoon, the brass knuckle mug, a T-shirt, a bag of creatine, a bottle of BPC 157, the peptide, and a hoodie of your choice from Montana-based apparel company, No F's Given. That's nofsgiven.com. Wow. And now the 3 other runner-ups are going to get an additional bag, full bag of Keto Brainz, and then samples of the salty electrolytes. So aside from the 15% off, I mean, use promo code January. Go ahead. You're good. You're I'm telling you, you're not going to want to start your day any other way. There's so many people in this audience now that they have this in their cupboards and they are having a wonderful time. And in the meantime, we're gonna continue to make monthly promo codes and incredible giveaways. Molly just gives away the kitchen sink over here. So ketobrainz.com, use promo code January all this month and have at it, because I can't wait to give away 4. I always feel like whenever we give something away, like if we have a raffle, whenever I give away this silver and eventually the Jesus shirt and everything else, I always feel like I'm happy for the person who won, and then I feel like everybody else hates me.
They do.
So I'm really excited that there's going to be 4 winners this time.
So that's 4 less people that'll hate you.
There's 3 less people.
Oh, 3 less people that hate you. Yeah.
That's just the way it is in my mind. I know that I know it's not that way, but in my mind, I'm like, if I can't make everybody a winner, then I can't do this anymore.
If they're tuned into the show, Frank, they're a winner.
Can't give everyone a trophy, bro.
No, I know. I know, but
why not?
In grammar school, you had to give everybody a cupcake.
That's true.
And there was always
a Valentine.
There was always that one kid that needed the vanilla icing because they had some kind of a chocolate allergy. Now it's every other person has a chocolate allergy, peanut butter. They can't be in the same. What the hell is?
Well, I'm getting to the bottom of that,
dude. Well, I know. We're going to do that next. What the hell is with, Jay, can you tell me just real quick, what are your thoughts on the ridiculous nature of the level of allergies people have as far as strength? Like, it's one thing where, like, oh man, my friend Timmy by accident bit into something that had the essence of peanut butter in it, and now his mouth is itchy. Now kids can't be in the same room as a peanut. Like, what the fuck does that? Where does that come from?
This is a huge
Like,
conversation.
it's in the peanuts in the air,
right now. There's a feedback loop happening here, and then so the more that we keep people away from certain foods, there's a whole school of thought on this and a lot of research on it. That the more we keep people away from these things, then their immune system never has the opportunity to recognize it and build up the proper response to it. So then, if they are ever exposed to it later in life, the response is exaggerated. So there are a lot of people and a lot of really good researchers who think that it's irresponsible to continually use avoidance therapy as a tool because that's all it really ever is, and it can actually exacerbate things down the road. So and then you have to ask the question, why are there so many allergies and autoimmune conditions in general? And I would say that's because Anthony Fauci's been a failure since 1984. So there's nothing new under the sun there, but autoimmune is fascinating, and obviously it all begins in the gut, but this is a whole other conversation that I would love to have. We could do a whole show just on autoimmune conditions because so many people actually deal with it.
Christian, do you have any allergies?
Just cats and dogs.
Okay.
But I was going to say what you're saying, in my experience, clocks, because I know somebody that had all these allergies, nuts, this and the other, and they started eventually introducing them little by little, and now they can eat most things, I think, except peanuts.
Yeah, and if it's a true allergy, there may never be a way to regain that. But there is a difference between an allergy and a sensitivity. A true allergy to the protein is something specific. It requires a specific immune response that you have to measure in the blood. So people sometimes say allergies, but it's really not an actual allergy. And so if you know that, you can, but that's immunotherapy. That's how you expose people slowly to an antigen so their body becomes accustomed to it.
Actually, Frank, no, I lied. I was allergic to avocados.
Oh.
Like my father was. We would get I get a rash, big rash on my ass.
I was going to say, it's an ass
really,
rash?
really, really itchy, big fucking
looking
rash.
On your cheeks or in the crack?
On my cheeks, sometimes on my arms.
Why would it localize on the ass?
Yeah, that I'm not sure of.
But I love guacamole. I love avocados, so I just ate them anyway. And now I can eat them every day. I have one every day for breakfast, and I'm fine.
And it's not on you. The
ass is
my ass
totally
is fine.
fine.
I really bent over and checked.
Oh, good. We need no proof. We need no
How
proof.
you doing, asshole?
No, we're fine. We're fine.
Not today, asshole.
but allergy.
I'm looking at you with that one good eye.
The body can totally overcome those, and I know that I've done that because I had a ton of allergies when I was a baby, when I was a kid, and I have virtually none. And I've even been able to, by healing my gut, have been able to eliminate most of my cat allergies as well. So it's totally possible. It's what we do. It's what we research.
Do you understand that it may be, at least at a time before he defeated his avocado allergy, that it may have been safer to go to a glory hole in New York City than for him to eat an avocado.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. Yeah, I thought about it.
In some instances.
Yeah.
I mean, some glory holes
It's all
are
about
just,
safety, Frank.
yeah.
But imagine going to a glory hole and seeing like a red rashed ass on the end of it.
Yeah, wasn't that?
You don't look through it.
You don't look through
The
that.
whole
I don't
idea
know.
is just the mystery.
I don't have the experience that
Come on, man. The rules are on the door.
If you look, you get rid of the whole reckless abandon.
Yeah.
It's like you're going in there and saying anything can happen
When
to
you're-
me,
when
and
you're-
I don't give a shit. If you double check, you lose. Okay, so here we go. Let me thank a few people. Then I want to get to some RFK stuff. Stowe Stoop says, "Evening, Giuseppe G, Christian, and Frank. Great listen. Thank you so much." Jay Britt says, "Merry Tuesday, Frank, Jeter, and Christian. And Jeter, I will suffer for you." Says Jay Britt.
I think there's going to be a lot of people suffering for me
I know.
as the J in the room.
Let's see here.
Get on your knees and suffer.
Joe Martinez, thank you so much. Lindsay Thompson, Kid Hippie, says, "Big happy birthday to my mama Lisa on Thursday." Oh, well, Lindsay, email me so I can say happy birthday on Thursday. Email me quick. Shotzi, sending love and support. Thank you. Thank you so much. Jeannie Yankee fan says, "Faking Gay Monday, Frank." Oh, that was yesterday. Never mind.
And Tuesday.
I'm like Ron Burgundy over here. I just read things and I remember.
I'm Ron Burgundy over here.
Jay Semo says, "You guys are starting off on fire. Going to be a great show." Usually.
Yeah, we came
Usually.
out guns blazing.
It really was. It was good. Jay Semo, great guest, great host, great show. Thank you. That was all on Rumble. And then, of course, on quitefrankly.tv, on pilled.net. Let's get the pilled total up to 10,000 tonight, guys. Amethyst Cat says, I really love the new opening video. Happy Tuesday, Frank and Djibouti and Christian. Corey says silver is $88 an ounce, soon to be $100. So I don't know. You do the value, the melt value of one of these Mercury Head dimes at 90%. I don't know. They're probably about $8. But hold on, wait a second. Melt value of a Mercury Head dime with today's silver price. Short answer. Let's see here. Over on AI mode on Google. Let's see what Gemini has to tell me. So it is, just give me the damn answer. God, you suck.
Gemini
too.
can jumpstart your car now, apparently.
They're about $6. They're about $6 a piece because they are 90% silver. So multiply the current spot price of silver by 0.0723.
Wow.
To get that melt value, which is, yeah.
I can't.
Like I said, it's right now, you should be able to pop somebody a Mercury Head dime and walk out with a gallon of milk.
Crazy.
Okay? That's what we're talking about, money versus currency. Just think about that.
Yeah.
So obviously you go into 7-Eleven or, Cumberland Farms, they're not going to give you the milk for the Mercury Head dime or anything like that. But again, a store of value for everyday people like us. That's why we do this. That's why you have to start doing it. Little by little, do what you can. Quitefrankly.gold. Use promo code Frankie. Frankly. I should start doing the Frankie code.
You definitely should.
Willie Fixit says, Dime Bag Frank, hit me up. Save the shirt for a small person. I know. Yeah, I know. It's a medium. I understand. Nathan says, start messaging that urine will neutralize pepper spray until we get viral videos from Minnesota riots that will get strikes on YouTube. That's amazing. Can you imagine videos? Okay, so if you can get thousands of people to show up along the banks of the East River to watch no fireworks go off at midnight in Brooklyn, then can you imagine if we can just a couple of videos to go viral that says urine neutralizes pepper spray and you have a bunch of leftists peeing on each other? That would be incredible.
It could totally happen.
They're like kneeling down, everybody's pissing on their faces. That would be fantastic. Did you ever see? Okay.
Use the opportunity, Jay.
I know. Or you could just have Donald Trump or RFK tell people not to do that. And then, of course, they'll just go out and do it despite RFK and Trump.
Don't pee on each other.
Don't do it. There was this one guy. I won't play it because we got some lemon faces out there that won't like it. But maybe on...
Is that a piss joke?
No. But maybe on the flip side tonight, there's this one guy who goes and trolls leftists when they're protesting one stupid thing or another. And he shows up and he's screaming. He's screaming about Trump. He can't stand Trump or one person of his administration or another. He's just going nuts. And he has this big gallon of milk. And he says, I'm gonna chug this bill because I fucking hate Trump. I'm gonna he's pretty much getting everybody riled up. They're all cheering for him to chug the milk because he hates Trump. But what he knows he's bringing himself to the point where he's just going to throw it all up.
Oh no.
So what it does is he brings everybody to this like fever pitch. And then it starts getting more and more awkward because he's struggling and he's throwing up all over the place.
Oh my
God. And these people, all the wind has been taken out of the sails.
Oh my God.
And I just love it. I absolutely love it.
That's great.
It's a good time for stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well,
the funny people.
You have to. You have to. The last time Jay was in here, Christian, I don't know if you saw the short I put out on Instagram and elsewhere, but it was the night Jay and I were sitting here and watching that short clip from Hot Shots Part 2.
Oh yeah.
It was President Benson describing the situation that we have right now in Minnesota, where you have people from Africa and the Middle East. People that we used to say, we're going over there to fight. You think about the early 90s and all that, Black Hawk Down, all that other shit. Oh, we're going to bring, why do we have to go over there? We can bring them over here and get ourselves some good fishing. Mm-hmm. It's like, we used to go to the movies and pay at that time, $7 to have a laugh at the most absurd things you can think of.
Right.
When you're living the absurdity. I mean, that's why SNL has been like mostly miss and not hit for so long. Where do you go to when comedy is just where do you go to?
Yeah, there's no place to go.
You have to just say things that used to be common knowledge 25 years ago, and everybody gets a relieving laugh. It's like a relief, like you almost like cracked a knuckle. Thank you. Boys can never be girls. Another knuckle cracked. Is that really comedy? But people need it. It's relieving. It's soothing.
I was very lucky that a movie theater that I go to, ironically, off of Union Square, they showed both What Is a Woman and Am I Racist? I was able to see it in an actual movie theater in New York, and it was packed.
Really?
Yeah, it was packed, and people were laughing and having a good time.
Huh.
And I remember I looked over at Steph and I said, "Wow, it's like this feels so nice. Like people are all laughing at the absurdity of things. It feels nostalgic, you know."
Yeah.
But it's far and few.
Yeah.
That's why I want to know. I can't wait to bring it all back. It's going to come back, and it's going to come back at least in places, and people. It's going to catch on.
Bring back the 90s.
Yeah, but how? But the real question is the cleanup. There's a really bad party that just ended.
Yeah.
And the place is trashed. There's just
And the
like
drunks are still on your front lawn. They won't
drunks
leave.
they're crying like
Hangovers.
Everybody's the mascara is running down the face. Everybody's crying and giving terrible end of the night speeches. We need the ambulance. There's vomit all over the place.
Yeah.
There's Somalians in the garden
Eating
eating
your
the
cats
carrots,
and dogs.
eating the cats and the carrots. I just
Is this real life?
it's real life. It's a weird simulation.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, let's see, what else do I have? Oh, you wanted to read it here. The way that here, just a little bit on this 814. This is from James Howard Kunstler. We'll just do a little bit.
Sure.
It's called Permission Granted. Go kill yourself. I love the approach he took with this one. Historians of the future. Historians of the future grilling beaver tail paninis over their campfires will look back in wonder and nausea at the madness of America and other regions of Western civilization in the raging 2020s. It will be clear by then that it was largely a female hysteria, like other departures from social sanity in the annals of the Homo sapiens, such as the outbreak of witchery in Massachusetts colony in 1692, the dancing plague at Strasbourg in 1518, and the lunacy of meowing and biting nuns that spread throughout the convents of Europe in the 1400s. Lefty Left has devised what was called a permission culture or permission structure for women to take the lead in acting out the concocted grievances of their showrunners in the Democratic Party, who in times gone by once had a coherent political program, but are now chiefly concerned with staying out of jail. I speak of those two orbiting moons, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, and their many subalterns, such as John Podesta, Lisa Monaco, Norm Eisen, Adam Schiff. The huge cast of characters. In 2020, they put their African-American clients in the vanguard, hoping to provoke Mr. Trump into a bloody suppression of the George Floyd riots. Didn't really work. Though the riots were a grand distraction from Mark Elias's behind-the-scenes nefarious setup to queer the balloting process in the year's election, a thumping success when all was said and done. All that mischief propelled brain-dead Joe Biden into office and the perfect stooge to front for Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. None of that worked for them in 2020, only apparently because Elon Musk got wind of some election hacking signals from the bunker in Siberia and somehow managed to put the kibosh on its functionality. But that's another story, not quite yet spun for the public.
Interesting.
Yeah, as it happens enough, Americans are sick and tired of the race hustle, and that its antics no longer avail the Democrat Party in stirring up animus against order. So now the party sends its women out onto the front lines to bang on police car windows, scream at the officers to perform sex acts on themselves, and impede their duties. In the course of all that action, one of them, Renee Nicole Good, got shot last week, gunning her Honda Pilot at Officer Jonathan Ross. So they keep on going, and to the end, the result of all this dysfunction is a society with deeply disrupted relations between men and women, people who can't produce children, or by happenstance, as in the case of Renee and Nicole Good, 2 children who did not live with her, people of both sexes who can't enact the basic roles of human adulthood, people of both sexes who can't hardly find gainful employment, and you end up with a land of broken people, broken families, and behavior that verges into madness. And these broken people are egged on to self-destruction by the cynical managers of a criminal political party desperate to hide its crimes and avoid prosecution. When the arraignments begin, the derangements will ebb. Just watch and see. Well, listen, I hope we get arraignments. Yeah. I really do. You just saw the Clintons thumb their nose to the the subpoena.
We'll see what happens.
The indictment, not an indictment, but the crazy thing that they said was this was concocted just to put us in jail. Motherfucker.
The nerve.
The way
really
20 you think about Trump's court schedule in 2024 alone. Oh my gosh.
I know, I got to go to court in between campaigning for president as the leading candidate. Yeah.
Oh my God, they're trying to put him in jail or get him killed in 2024.
Or both.
These freaks.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the one thing I'll say about this, Frank, and I said this to you before, and I was listening to you last night, and I just think it's funny in a very sad way that because these protests seem to be predominantly women now. And you read something yesterday about a woman who was complaining that why are the men not supporting us? And for me, I just couldn't help think, you got what you wanted. You have spent, I don't know, a decade plus, 2 decades probably, maybe more, telling men that, especially white men, they're the problem with everything. They have toxic masculinity. They have privilege. Insert all your buzzword, your social justice warrior buzzwords here, right? But men are the problem. So they've emasculated men. They've put them in their place. I used to hear all the time, if women ruled the world, blah, 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 all this stuff, right? And then when the men don't show up to do the very thing that men, generally speaking, are genetically programmed to do, which is, protect the vulnerable and the weak and to stand by and to, when they don't do that because they've been told for decades and decades and decades that they're the problem, all of a sudden the women have a problem. They don't know what to do when men are supposed to be in the places that men normally would be in had you not relegated them to the dregs of society in the first place. So
people aren't reasonable, though.
You're right.
I point back to 2020. You can't reason with people. There's no critical thinking when it comes to this shit. It's all emotion.
Yeah. It's wild, though. I just couldn't help last night but think, you reap what you sow. This is exactly what you wanted, and now you're the one out there standing in front of an ICE vehicle pretending that you're some kind of a superhero that you're not. It's just wild to me. I mean, this is, and like you said too, Frank, the men that actually do show up are just defeated shells of their former selves, if they ever, were. But, everything's a problem. Testosterone's a problem. Maleness is a problem, whatever, right? And now you've got a whole... the men that they hold up are the people like Tim Walz. That's a man?
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
With all the stuff that came out, though, you got to wonder if that's why they were holding him up. If that's why he was even considered as vice president, just to put cover this whole thing.
Certainly,
I don't know how it covers anything. How would he be? How would Tim Walz's name being attached to a ticket that was led by Kamala Harris have covered anything up? It wasn't going to make it a more successful campaign. So I mean, it would have been. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if there was a serious candidate in Harris's shoes, and it was a little bit more competitive, you can say that, they take Tim Walz along with you just so we can get him out of the state or something else. But he wasn't joining anything that ever had a chance to win.
Right.
No, I think he was just a calculated choice because, well, we all know why they didn't choose Josh Shapiro. But I think he was just a calculated choice because he was like the safe choice. He was like, he was what people remember, right? He's just this older white guy, football player, football coach, teacher kind of guy. Like
I had to have known about this.
Oh, I'm sure they did, but they're so arrogant. Like you said, they just don't think consequences are coming for them no matter what they do. But Tim Walz reminded me of Joe Biden, why they put Joe Biden in that position.
Right.
He's the guy that everybody kind of likes. And Tim Walz played the role much better than Joe Biden because Joe Biden was demented. But
come on, man.
But Tim Walz, as what a man is, or they even tried to convince us that Kamala Harris's husband was Doug Emhoff or whatever. I think that's his name. He was the guy that we're all like. They always want to give you the beta male of all beta males because they just are trying to convince you that actually being a male, the things that make a male, those are all wrong. This is the kind of male you want to be. And then again, when you get into this situation, when all the males are gone because you have castrated them all intellectually, you get what you deserve.
That's what it's. I mean, it's showing. It's showing itself very easily. Hey, everybody! Just another reminder to like this show, leave it a nice comment. Fluff it. If you're watching live, fluff that chat room.
Fluffer.
Fluffing. Okay.
Holes, fluffing.
we got it all tonight. And if you're not watching live, what do you think about the show? Put it in the chat room. Put it in the comments. And also remember, for those of you who are monthly sponsors, check the members only section. I left you a gem of a brief home video during one of our Hallmark Christmas video rips from about a year or two ago. Anthony sent it to me. I said, people are going to love this. So whether it's Patreon, Subscribe Star, the member only section on quitefrankly.tv or YouTube, go check it out. Enjoy it. It's all for you. All right. Let's see. Gribble Sillin says, great show as always. Thank you, Gribble.
I love that name. I don't know why. It's just fun to say.
Yes, it's one of our friends from Wisconsin. I am being sent a crate. I can't wait. I think I'm going to unbox it. I was going to send a picture of what I think is coming my way as far as cheese goes. I'm going to unbox it live on air, maybe just from the kitchen or something like that, because it's going to be like finding One-Eyed Willie's gold.
I think you should bring it in here. Have me on the show that night. I'll make the pate and
cheese and liver pate.
It's like chocolate and peanut butter.
No, I love it. Shotzi, loving support. Thank you so much. Over on Rumble again, Nat Wall, greetings. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to you, my friend. Delona just sent a long sleeve of cookies over there at pill.net. Vesper says, if you want real comedy, check out Fractured Fairy Tales. Delona says, today is my birthday. And Esther G too. Well, happy birthday to Delona and Esther G. Happy birthday. Wow. Esther. You know, everybody's overlapped. Does anybody in the chat room have an April 2nd birthday? I forget if that is the case. I know a few of you have birthday with my mom and my brother and all that stuff. Jay just claimed a 1-month silver tier subscription by Super Happy. Oh, thank you, Laura. That's so nice. So people are gifting each other subscriptions over there at Pilled. Like I said, if you want to try out being a sponsor of the show, if you claim one of those in the chat room, they're floating around, that's it. Somebody has paid your way into a sponsorship. It's crazy how generous people are.
That's cool.
Abe Anon, thank you. Corey J, thank you. Nathan, Stephen and Lori, Willie. It's been great to have you all here, and we still have much more to do. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Let's run through the RFK. Okay. We have 3 clips that are 2 minutes or less. It is 8:26 p.m. I think we can get through this by just some roundabout thoughts about what came out of HHS and Maha the other day. And then I'd love to take some calls for the last 15, 20 minutes from people.
Sure.
Okay, so Jay, what do we have? What do we have first? This is, wait, hold on.
So I tried to send
marks a decisive change in federal nutrition policy.
What is this? Which one am I doing first?
Well, I labeled them what they were, so I think I sent 3 clips.
Ending the war on saturated fat.
Okay, yeah. So this is going to be a little bit of a caveat to this, but this was one of my takeaways from the news conference.
Okay, so I'll just here we go.
Today marks a decisive change in federal nutrition policy made possible by President Trump's leadership and the work of Maha moms and public health advocates who demanded reform. Today, in accordance with President Trump's directive, Rook and I will release the dietary guidelines for Americans 2025 to 2030. the most significant reset of federal nutrition policy in history. These guidelines replace corporate-driven assumptions with common sense goals and gold standard scientific integrity. These new guidelines will revolutionize our nation's food culture and make America healthy again. For decades, Americans have grown sicker while healthcare costs have soared. The reason is clear. The hard truth is that our government has been lying to us to protect corporate profit-taking, telling us that these food-like substances were beneficial to public health. Federal policy promoted and subsidized highly processed foods and refined carbohydrates and turned a blind eye to the disastrous consequences. Today, the lies stop. The new guidelines recognize that whole, nutrient-dense food is the most effective path to better health and lower healthcare costs. Protein and healthy fats are essential and were wrongly discouraged in prior dietary guidelines. We are ending the war on saturated fats.
Wow.
So
Yes.
amazing. And when I messaged you, that was all I had seen. I had not actually seen the guidelines. I just happened to be on, and I was like, what are they announcing today? I was just unaware of this. So there's good and bad. The good is that this is an incredible shift in the right direction. I mean, to see the pyramid that has things like meat and cheese on the top of the pyramid, that is, I never thought I would see that. I mean, I've been fighting for this for over a decade now. Ever since I did my own independent research, and then, you spent years in grad school and doing all the things that I've done. Unfortunately, and strangely, and I don't know how to reckon this, and I wanted to mention this to your audience. So we're ending the war on saturated fat. Okay. So I went to the dietary guidelines. The cap on total saturated fat to be consumed is still under 10% of calories, exactly the same as it's always been. So I don't know how we're ending the war on saturated fat. I mean, you can put meat and cheese and things like that at the top of the pyramid, which is great. But in the text, it still says they are keeping the cap of 10% of daily calories of saturated fat. So that's not ending the war on saturated fat.
What would you have that at?
I mean, I would just say when you're consuming nutrient-dense foods, again, using all the words that I love that I'm hearing now that used to only be spoken in my circles, in nutrition science circles, using these words, if you're eating whole foods, there's no reason to cap it. It's just if you're eating whole foods and not intentionally downing gobs of refined fats, you'll find your body will find an equilibrium with saturated fat or any other nutrient. There's no need to put any kind of arbitrary number on it. And by the way, if you want to know about that 10%, I didn't send you this, but I did a Rumble video it's about 10 minutes long of exactly where that 10% number came from. And spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with science. It was pure politics, and it was from a FOIA request from the Dietary Guidelines Committee members that you can see them going back and forth, actually even saying, there's really no research to support this, but we really shouldn't overturn it because that's just the way it is, basically. So if you want to go to my Rumble page, you can find that if you want to know about that. But I was disappointed to hear, or I was happy to hear the comment about ending the war on saturated fat. But according to the guidelines, it's not possible even to eat the way RFK is saying to eat and still keep your daily calories, 10% or less from saturated fat. So there's some disconnect, and there's a few reasons that people think why, whether they wanted to pick that battle. They said they didn't want that to be the headline because everybody would. I'm all done with that stuff. That stuff doesn't matter anymore. We need change. This is the bad to go along with the good. I don't know how people are going to reckon this. My advice to you would be eat the way they're telling you to eat in the pyramid and forget the 10% of daily calories. I've forgotten it years ago.
So it just really comes down to the good is that it was spoken out loud. But if these recommendations are going to find their way to schools, they're going to find a way. They're going to find a way to every hospital or place that has military. Yep. Then it's still problematic. It's still going to be just trying to cap it at 10.
And which means what other fats are they going to use? They're going to still be using seed oils.
Okay, so here's the next one. This one is RFK, why the guidelines matter. 52 seconds.
As Secretary of Health and Human Services, my message is clear: eat real food. Nothing matters more for healthcare outcomes, economic productivity, military readiness, and fiscal stability Dietary guidelines shape dozens of federal feeding programs, including Head Start. These standards affect 45 million school lunches every day. Meals for 1.3 million active duty service members, and food served to 9 million veterans in VA hospitals. Today begins the work of aligning those programs with affordable, whole, nutrient-dense food.
Okay, well, I mean, then we got the...
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and that's to your point. That is why it matters. Because people tell me all the time, well, Jay, it doesn't matter because, you know, we don't need to follow the guidelines. You're right. It doesn't matter to the individual who has complete autonomy, but it does matter to the support programs, to the schools, to the military, to the hospitals. It does matter. And so this is still problematic. The fact that in the dietary guidelines, by the way, I also looked at salt and they kept the same restrictions on salt. So saturated fat and salt, the two, you know, things that I feel like it's so clear that they have gotten wrong. You know, they're saying the right things from the perspective of like the pyramid itself and speaking the right words, but in the guidelines themselves, they're still not really freeing us from that preconception that saturated fat is somehow uniquely problematic, which it's not, and salt is somehow uniquely problematic, which it's not. So, you know, we're gonna have to deal with this in some way. So,
okay,
that's my assessment.
Here's the third and final one that you got for us.
This is good.
2 minutes long. Commissioner, what is it, UFP?
Oh, ultra processed foods.
Ultra processed. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Today marks the beginning of the end of an era of medical dogma on nutrition.
Yeah.
For decades, we've been fed a corrupt food pyramid that has had a myopic focus on demonizing natural, healthy, saturated fats,
See, they said
telling
it
you
again.
not to eat eggs and steak, and ignoring a giant blind spot. Refined carbohydrates, added sugars, ultra-processed food. This study in JAMA now shows that 60% to 70% of kids are getting their calories from ultra-processed foods. That's an epidemic. We now have a generation of kids addicted to refined carbohydrates, low in protein. They are literally nitrogen negative because we've used old flawed studies that used urine nitrogen to estimate body protein metabolism, and they missed the mark. The old guidelines had such a low protein recommendation that we are increasing that by 50 to 100%. Kids need protein. The old protein guidelines were to prevent starvation and withering away. These new protein guidelines are designed for American kids to thrive, and they're based on science, not on dogma. We have 40% of our kids now with a chronic disease. It is not their fault. This is something that is the result of bad advice from the government and a medical establishment that for decades peddled research from a flawed 1960s model. Today, we are setting the record straight. This is not a willpower problem of our nation's kids. This is something adults have done to kids, and we're going to fix it.
I don't know why I'm thinking about this. I'm going back to the 90s, Saturday mornings, waking up. I can just see the sun, 1992 sun coming through the blinds over there in the house that we were in at the time. And just, Saturday morning cartoons and getting yourself a bowl of Trix for whatever, or Cocoa Puffs. My mother would leave little Post-it notes sometimes, like during the week when she would go away and go to work earlier than my father would take us to the school. Two little Post-it notes next to our cereal, Cocoa Puffs, whatever. And whenever you see it on the television, part of this balanced breakfast.
Oh yeah.
And the balanced breakfast was this bowl of cereal, a piece of toast, a glass of milk, and a glass of orange juice. And that used to be so heartwarming to me to think this is balanced. This is good. We're doing good. And literally, I guess the milk was all right if it wasn't pasteurized in 1%.
Exactly.
Which
it was.
See, that's the thing. It's what's crazy. This is the easiest thing in the world to say. I mean, here are 3 points that I have to go out there and just get what people are complaining about from all this stuff. because it really just summarized. I wanted to just summarize what the liberal thrashing would be all about, and which we all know is primarily rooted in adversarial knee-jerk politics. Okay, because outside of that, it is this runs the gamut. No matter who your family is, if they're above 45, 50 years old, there's probably a good amount of them who think salt is bad, meat is bad,
Of course.
pasteurized 1% milk is the good milk. If you're going to have dairy, that's good because it's not going to clog your arteries.
Right.
These are things we get constantly. Promotion of red meat, everybody's pissed off about. They say it's unhealthy. It's environmentally problematic.
Yeah, all wrong, all incorrect.
Demonization of seed oils as unsupported by science.
Not true. I'll bring you the papers if you want them.
Good. RFK has labeled vegetable oils like canola and soybean as toxic and poisonous, contributing to inflammation and chronic disease. Mainstream nutrition experts and left-leaning media counter that robust research shows that seed oils are not inherently harmful. They save so much time and they keep costs down, Jay.
Yeah. Just when we need cheap food.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
And then there's the overemphasis that people are upset about natural foods tied to broader anti-expertise agenda. Some argue that guidelines fall into naturalistic fallacy, prioritizing real or unprocessed animal products while downplaying nuanced science on balanced diets.
Yeah, okay. Why don't you define balanced diet? Is it one that I'm eating when I'm standing on one foot? What is a balanced diet? You have to have enough ultra-processed foods to satisfy the food industry. Marty McCary was exactly correct. So was RFK. We've done this so many times, and maybe we should at some point soon do this thing from head to toe for an entire episode. Like go back to the history of 1977, the food, the original dietary guidelines in this country. Go back to the debates. We could rehash this whole thing, and I can show you exactly where we went off track, exactly where the food industry took over. The scientists that were paid off at Harvard to shift the blame for heart disease towards fats and saturated fats and away from sugar. I have all the research. I have all the papers. It's well known now. The people that tell you there's no evidence, what they mean is there's no evidence in their social media feed. That's what they actually mean. They haven't seen the evidence because, of course, they haven't looked for it. They just defer to their favorite influencer who will tell them exactly what they want to hear so that they can continue to eat the same ultra-processed foods that they've always eaten. So this fix has to be from the top down and from the bottom up. I've been advocating this for over 10 years now. This is a step in the right direction. I work with people every day who don't even know what whole foods are. So we have to start there. And then RFK also said one really important thing. We have to make these foods more affordable. When he did his Wall Street Journal article before Trump won the election, he talked about ending the subsidies of wheat, corn, soy, and things like that make artificially cheap, ultra-processed foods. If he does that, now we've got a real opportunity because now you're going to bring the cost down of actual food. It's not ultra-processed food versus natural food. It's real food versus food type things, okay? Like tricks, I loved them as a kid too. It's not a food. It might be edible, but it's full of fake, synthetic vitamins, which, some even debate whether that may prohibit and inhibit the absorption of the actual vitamins from food. So it's not a real food. Shifting that towards real whole foods, we can do that in a financially responsible way, and then we educate the public to what actual foods are. We have to remove the indoctrination of saturated fat is bad, salt is bad, and that's why I'm a little bit disappointed at the fact that the messaging is discordant with the actual details of the dietary guidelines.
I'm glad that you're ending on this note because I want to show both of you guys this New York Post article. I was waiting for something like this to happen. Okay. And I grabbed it. It was on January 7th. I grabbed it. I said, okay, well, I got a week until the guys are on. They're going to love this. Your weekly grocery bill will soar to $175 per person if you eat how RFK Jr.'s new food program suggests. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s new dietary guidelines emphasize the importance of whole foods, but they'll likely end up eating your whole paycheck. The Post found it would cost about $175 for a single person's weekly grocery bill, and they go on to just break it down. The new outline released Wednesday They said that they hit out a previous federal incentives saying they promoted low quality, high processed foods and pharmaceutical intervention instead of prevention. Now HHS is emphasizing the importance of pricey products. No, see, this is the crazy thing. And the article really only goes on another scroll or two.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, the New York Post in New York, we have mom and pop businesses everywhere that sell the things Whole Foods sells for way cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not that the price should be an excuse over your health.
But that's the whole point here.
But the way they're talking to a very specific audience of people that just don't want to know.
Yeah, no.
The Whole Food shopping crowd is not this. Is not the. I'm thinking of a bunch of different like Korean places in my own neighborhood that like I get fruits and.
The thing that's crazy,
good meat from,
is that this is the easiest thing in the world, just from a publishing standpoint, to separate two concepts that are alive and well with this topic. That there is a declaration. What does the Declaration of New Health Standards actually mean for the promotion of health? And then the other concept is the daunting task of providing economic relief for Americans once again.
Right.
Because it's if you just say, well, if we do what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wants us to do, we're going to pay $175 a person per week. If everybody's going to have steak or chicken. It's
oversimplifying the problem.
It absolutely is, because the real thing here is that we are. You look how much people are going to have to spend if they're going to eat healthy, high quality foods is not really a great point you're trying to make.
No.
The point is, why is the gap between people's ability to get these foods, which is a necessity for life on Earth, what can we do to bring those prices down?
And that's why I said it's a top down and a bottom up approach, right? Because it is. And I don't know if you remember this, Frank, at the last...
Well, hold on, Jay, because one last thing.
Yeah.
It's not like this being published at HHS prevents a family of 6 from going to A&P and buying Count Chocula.
No.
It's just that, hey, listen, we need everybody to get better information about how our bodies work now. Okay. We understand it. There's a point of separation between you and the money it would take to actually convert your entire house into a healthier mode of living. Mm-hmm. And we got to figure out economically how to make that better. But to just push back on the recommendation is ridiculous. The RFK is not saying if you don't buy this steak, you're going to go to jail.
Or you're going to starve.
See who's funding the New York Post. That's probably number one.
Yeah. They're usually one of the more saner ones in the city.
But the corporate media.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah. And number two, I'm sorry, in 2026, do people not know that processed foods are shit?
Well, I'll tell you, man, I do this every day, and I'm
It depends on who's rejecting them, Christian.
I guess.
And I'm still surprised at the education that needs to be done from the bottom up, to be perfectly honest. And it humbles me.
I might be out of touch on that.
No. But I think what I'm trying to say is that there is such an array of ignorance, and I don't mean that word in a, like to be a pejorative. I truly mean, I understand people are busy. They don't have the time to do what I do every day. So some people genuinely need to be explained, like, what is a whole food? Plus, then you hit on the fact that we have such mixed messaging around red meat, so we have to clear that up. But Frank, I don't know if you remember this, and I should have sent this to you so you could have put it on screen, but this was from a presentation I did at the last retreat, where the title was called The True Cost of Healthy Eating. And I went to Walmart.com and I broke these foods down, the price per ounce, so that I could actually see if it is actually more expensive to eat healthy. So I took grass-fed beef from Walmart.com, which at that time when I looked it up was $6.28 a pound, which breaks down to about 39 cents an ounce. And then I looked at things like Beyond Meat, Cliff Bars, Goldfish crackers, Lay's potato chips, a non-organic spring mix of like greens, and Lucky Charms. Just because that was on the food compass as like a very, that was actually above ground beef in terms of a score on the food compass. Every single one of those other products that I just named is more expensive per ounce than grass-fed ground beef. And grass-fed ground beef is completely and totally nutrient dense. You can survive on that. You cannot survive on any of these other ones. So it is also a fallacy to say, in general, that it is always more expensive to eat healthy. But if people don't understand that red meat is a health food, then the red meat won't even enter their sphere of thinking when they're talking about eating healthy. They think they've got to go to Whole Foods and buy all this super expensive stuff. When I'm saying, no, you could go to Costco and you can get ground beef there. There's a lot of things you can do. And this is what I do every day with people. I show them how to do this. When I first moved to New York, when I was working at Guitar Center, I was making $8.50 an hour. And I was surviving in New York, and I was still eating, pretty damn healthy. So what I'm saying is we can do it. We need to educate. Like, my job is to educate the people. And then from RFK's position, he needs to end the subsidies. He needs to create a food pyramid that's more clear to say, hey, red meat is fine. You can eat that. So then that my messaging from the bottom up and his messaging from the top down meet in the middle, and people go, okay, at least now I understand what to aim for. And if the government is at least going to get out of the business of subsidizing crap ingredients that make ultra-processed foods artificially cheap, I have a fighting chance.
Well, here's the other thing, Jay, and you bring it up there again here too, that we're not talking about at all. I mean, he's talking about what Bobby and the crew at HHS were talking about is just pretty much a departure from what we're prioritizing as far as calorie sources.
Yeah.
And then also what we're prioritizing as far as, just the general quality food and how it's prepared, how it's cooked, how close to nature is it. Mm-hmm. But nobody, obviously you can't do it in one press conference and people's eyes will glaze over in the back of their heads. Nobody's talking about how much should a person eat in a day? How much does a person need to eat in a day? Like, when I think about right now, if I was going to get a steak that's about a pound, I don't know a place around here that I'm going to be able to buy it for less than $25.
Right.
Okay. So $25, if I were to have a steak a day at a pound, I know that I've got 100 grams of protein in there, mm-hmm. and all the fats and everything else is essentially just eating a multivitamin. Mm-hmm. And so I need that pound of beef, or I can get ground beef, which is a lot less expensive. A pound of ground beef is less expensive than a prime rib.
Yeah, I just stopped at Whole Foods on the way in here, and I just looked. It was on sale for $8.99 for grass-fed ground beef at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
At Whole Foods, it was $8.99 for a pound of ground beef. That is a great choice for somebody. That's a great choice.
That's a pound of it's just the poundage here.
Yeah.
I prefer a steak, but $25 a day, I understand that. Mm-hmm. So you get into other things. If for my example, if my macronutrient goal for the day is about 185 grams of protein, I know that 1 pound is out of the way. There's $9 a day. There's 1 pound is 100. Now I just got to find 85 more grams, and then 6 eggs. 6 times 7 is what, 42. All right, so I mean now I'm just like a cup of cottage cheese away from, that's one sitting and maybe a small little snack earlier on in the day. But people are thinking it has to be a full plate. It has to be 3 times a day. I mean, there's a whole lot more that has to change.
So much more. I mean, again, when you're eating really nutrient dense foods, 3 meals a day, by the way, is a complete construct. It's not a real thing. It's not necessary. It's mostly industry driven. There was no research behind it. When I transition people to really, truly eating in a nutrient-dense way, I experienced this myself, you just tend to eat less because you're completely satiated. You have steady energy and you don't need to, eat like people used to. This higher carbohydrate, higher grain, refined carbohydrate type diet has led to the idea that we need to eat so many times a day and we need snacks and we need all these things. And that's where things start to add up for people. But I see people's appetite become much more controlled when they're actually eating real food. So you're spot on there. That's one, thing that we don't even speak about is that, well, how many calories should I eat in a day? And I always tell people, we need to get you back to eating real food so that your body actually understands satiety signals. Then we can determine, based on your goals, based on a whole variety of other things, where we're going to go from there. Because to say, again, 2,000 calories, well, that is just a gross generalization that is not necessary for everybody. So there's so much to unpack here. And this has been 70-something years of damage done by the dietary guidelines. So to think that we're going to be able to do this in one sitting is crazy. And there are some people that truly do need the help. But I'll tell you one last thing, man. What I see every day is also a lack of priorities. When people tell me that they can't eat healthy, the first thing I do is go digging, because it's my job, into their life. And I find all kinds of things that are being paid for. And it's like, well, then you have a priority problem. Oh, I got a Netflix subscription, and I got a this subscription, and I got a that subscription. I'm like, I mean, you're free to choose those things. What I'm telling you is that your health is the most important thing. And if you don't have that, you really have nothing. So you need to decide then how you're going to allocate your funds.
I was going to say, I guarantee a lot of this pushback is just people don't like hearing things like that. They don't like hearing that they're doing the wrong thing, or that, you know, it's easier for them to just go to Burger King.
Yes.
You know, it's easier. They like Burger King. It tastes good, blah, 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 blah. And people don't like being told to change their ways. Right?
Well, that's the other thing.
It's like pointing things out in politics.
Yeah.
They don't like hearing
the ultra processed foods. They're also addictive, and they tap into the dopamine
they're
reward
made,
system.
they're created to be that way.
So people don't even realize that they're addicted to these foods. That people tell me all the time, I don't even really like the taste of meat or vegetables. And I'm like, that's because you're used to eating Hot Pockets and Doritos. Of course you're not going to like the taste of real food.
I had someone in my life that has a bad liver crossover disease, and the doctor wanted them to take this drug and that drug, prednisone, all this stuff. And they just changed their diet, and they changed to eating colorful foods and things that had minimal ingredients in them. And within 2 weeks, they felt amazing. And the first time they had a piece of like cake, they were like, does this taste weird to you? Does this taste weird to you?
Oh, yeah. That was me. That was me eating the cosmic brownie from the gas station.
A cosmic brownie.
Not any
that
time.
Didn't grow in the ground.
Not recently.
Yeah.
Not recently. I remember it was just so long, and then all of a sudden, Matt always used to go pick up some cosmic brownies before he came to the first studio. First studio, we'd be around the meeting room table. You remember that studio, right, Christian?
Yeah, of course.
We'd be around the meeting room table. We'd be having a meeting, or we'd be smoking some hookah or hanging out. All of a sudden, Matt would come through the door, and he'd just like drop all these cosmic brownies on the thing. You open them up, and they used to taste good back then.
Yeah, of course.
And then all of a sudden, we spent like maybe 2-3 years away from them, and we said, "Oh, I want to try one of these things." I spit out the first bite.
Yeah.
It was. I felt like I was like out of Chernobyl or something like that.
It's fake.
Something was wrong. Anyway, okay, listen. It's 8:55. We're not going to be able to take calls here.
Damn it!
But
Sorry, that's my fault. That was my soapbox.
No,
you could set me off on a path.
There's so much. There's so much we're doing, and we're going to have the flip side. The show is ending in about 3 minutes. On the other side of the intermission, get to the flip side. I'm going to put the chat. I'm going to put the link into the chat room. I have reels to show you guys. Some of them are music related. Some of them are whatever. But in the last 5 minutes, I want you guys to talk about your projects. Christian, let's start with you. Amatory Murder. We've played Set the Charge and Amatory Murder have played a lot of shows together. We have a lot of wonderful history, and you guys are, I'm so glad you've kept it together and you're still working. And,
Thank you.
And you're working at high levels too. So everybody know where they can find you.
You can get us at theamatory.murder.com. Instagram, at the Amatory Murder. That's where we're the most active. We're on Spotify, all that stuff, and we'll be hitting the road spring and summer. We're going to be going back down south, which we love. Louisiana, Arizona, Texas, all those places. So if you're listening, please check us out, and we'd love to meet you. We'd love to see you at a show.
There you go, the Amatory Murder.
It's good rock and roll music,
and they're all around. And like you know what? This is one of those bands I can say. You check them out in a venue near you because they do a lot of traveling. And I'm actually I'm really proud of you guys. We never were able to really get out as far as you guys have pushed yourself to do. So it's wonderful.
Oh, and our new album is called The Sounds of Seven Angels. It's on all the platforms, and it tells a good story. I really believe in this one.
And if you're ever in New York, go to a traditional Latin mass with Christian.
Yeah, a little Latin mass and cry.
just cry together. All right, so Jay, the healthreclamationproject.com. What do you want to leave people with?
You can use the code JAN26 for a discount if you want to become a member. And we are about to launch video courses on nutrition, sleep, exercise. There's a lot of stuff coming in 2026. One-on-ones are coming back, so there's really lots. So go check that out. And then, of course, on social media, you can find me on Perpetual Health. I know I've been less active, I just said, but sometimes when people hop on there and they want stuff, I deliver. But yeah, Perpetual Health on social media, and then healthreclamationproject.com. Use the code JAN26. Get a discount, become a member.
JAN, as in January.
Yep, JAN26. And, come on board and see what we got, and come to the Q&As and learn some stuff about your health. And, there's no commitment ever. You just be there as long as you want. You can leave, you can come back. But we're just here to try to help people navigate the messy waters that are human health in 2026.
Kneel for Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. Well, listen, everybody, come to the flip side, not as if we really held back right now, but it is when we're on the flip side, the energy just changes a little bit. We let our hair down, those of us who have hair, and then we go and just there's gonna be fun stuff to sift through and just laugh a little bit, and we'll just go until the lights go off. I don't think it's gonna be a third hour tonight. I just got to get home and relax. But Jay will be on again at least one more time in January. That we will have a third hour. I think Jane Barlow is going to be on that night.
Oh, cool.
We'll drag her into the flip side as well.
Poor thing.
Yeah, I know, but she too much. I mean, whenever something happens at home, it's like, hey, I feel a tickle in my throat. I call Jane now. Jane, which one of these tinctures are going to work for me? And then she sends me something else. It's incredible. Anyway, Christian, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
And send all the boys my love.
I will. And thank you to your audience for having me too. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you got to come by more often.
I know
this
is great. You guys are great.
You let me know. Let me know when you want to come by. It's always great to add more people on to the panel whenever Jay's here, because it just, I don't know, nothing gets taken away. It only gets enhanced. I like it. It's like an alloy, and yeah, so we'll see you guys in a little bit. Thank you for everything. And look in the chat room for those links. And for those of you who are watching after the fact, I have pinned the timestamped link of the flip side right there to the top of the comment section on Rumble, on YouTube, and usually inside of the description of the episode on podcast. Okay? So until then, farewell. No! Always do this.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
That's right, everybody. Come to the flip side. Come to the flip side. Welcome and thank you so much. Goodbye and thank you so much. Thank you for all the super chats. We're going to be reading them off again. Haywood just says, I'm allergic to work. It detests me. Jordan and I don't want to have advice on how to improve my condition. Oh no, don't work. It's only a job. Gamester says, I love when a Jungkook Gulinello is on. Now send me a dime, Frankie. Your name is in the running for the dimes. Tomorrow we give it away. You'll still have time to put it in. Andrea Dalton, Jay's fired up tonight. Xavier Logistics says, put warning labels on Coca-Cola. Yeah, that'd be great. All right, guys and gals, more of your conversation. We're going to be reading the general chat on the flip. Take care.
Goodbye.
All right, that's it. Thanks, everybody.